Just a minute. Right. So next, moving on to, this is a similar situation where you're having visualization of traffic for a particular region. It's the same thing, hotspot mapping, so to speak. We then have flood simulation. Now, in this particular instance, this is where we are actually having, this is actually our iDesktop product, right? So you'll notice that in this particular instance, you're trying to simulate a flood, and what is mainly used as a base for such a technique is based off on elevation. So once you're able to come up with a simulation of a flood for a particular area, it would help in making strategic decisions in terms of, for example, evacuation, in terms of response and whatnot. So yet again, this is on Supermap iDesktop. Remember, I had mentioned that you're actually able to use both 2D and 3D in the performing of various analysis techniques, all in the same platform. Next, I'll move on to GeoArtificial Intelligence. In this particular instance, I'm sure you know what artificial intelligence is in this day and age. So in this particular instance, we're talking about the geospatial aspect. This is particularly on classification. The video that you're seeing is one of our projects, I believe, done in China or Chile. I'm not quite certain. But then what the client wanted was to be able to then detect trees that seem to be, whether it's infected, diseased, or be able to also detect a tree that's not of that particular main type. For example, if you're looking at palms, then you'd like to detect a tree that's, not of the palm type. So in this particular instance, you're able to see we have the detection of all trees yellow, but then moving forward to detect or classify the trees that are not of, for example, the palm tree type, we then have the red item selected. Right, so moving on to machine learning. Here we're having airplane detection, we have road extraction, we have building extraction. I'm sure most of you are well familiar with this. In most cases, I believe most of you would actually focus on, let's say, land use, land cover classification, especially when you're doing your projects. But of course, that's not only limited to that, as you later on see. So these are just some simple use cases in that regard. Next, we have video GIS combined with artificial intelligence. So in this particular instance, we have vehicle detection and be able to also obtain statistics based on a video. This is on Supermap iDesktop X. And this is where you're having, let it play. So in this particular instance, you're being able to employ various statistical and classification techniques to make detection of cars as they move along a particular, in this particular instance, a highway, then be able to perform statistics on that. The next one is on the geographical fence monitoring. I had already mentioned this with regards to the real-time location monitoring of global ships. Now, in this particular instance, the geographical fence monitoring applied here is actually on the very, to my very left and to my very right. We're having that shaded area. So you're actually able to make detection on, or rather Supermap provides a platform for one to be able to perform analysis on a video by applying, for example, fence monitoring to be able to make detections on, be it in this particular case, the very first lane to my very left and my very last lane to my very right. Here we have license plate recognition based on video. I'm sure this is not particularly new to you. And this is actually what we use for, especially in Kenya. For example, for parking systems, where you'd have a car come in, the license plate is already recognized, then they'd ask you to pay. If you don't pay, of course, you can't leave the parking area. We then have mobile flight control and acquisition. In this particular instance is when you're trying to, it's still under classification and of course under machine learning, and it's where you're now trying to make classification based off on a video. And in this particular instance, this would be very helpful to road agencies that are trying to, let's say, perform monitoring of pavement, damaged pavements. So this would then be the final result. This would then signify areas of the pavement that have been damaged. Now, in this particular instance, the data set or the input data set would mainly be